at any given moment, depending on what his superiors have ordered him to do. So he will basically go out there, take charge of a situation, and that is what they're trained to do. It's a situation. It's nothing like going out and just saying, like, let's clock in at 9 o'clock and clock out at 5 o'clock. When the situation is still ongoing after 5 o'clock, when he's supposed to clock out, he can't stop that action. And I think police are similar to this. So I'm just going to separate all these different groups of security and the way that they are used in a defensive way. We also know the army can be used in an offensive way, where they can attack groups of people, they can attack terrorists, they can attack people who are a danger to the public. And this is similar with the police. The police can use deadly force in civilian situations. There's a number of situations that have come to mind in the media of when this happens. This occurs with the police and the general public. That's why the army is slightly different. The army don't generally have to have situations where they have to deal with the general public and have to then take somebody's life. It's usually a terrorist or a soldier or an armed assailant, and this then gives them very few sort of options. As a soldier, you've got very few options. As a policeman, you have a few more options. You've got a little bit more training on how you're dealing with civilians. You're not in a wartime situation. So self-defense has always played its part within the armed forces, the civil service, within the secret service, and indeed with police enforcement, law enforcement. And I'd say law enforcement because this is the word that's the new terminology. It should just be policing. It's now law enforcement. And we can look at the history of law enforcement throughout the years if we want to do that. But what's happening is the modern day policing is changing, it's altering due to certain situations. Some of them motivated, as I said, politically, and some of them are motivated by the necessity for safety and for accountability. This is a word that is being thrown about. And we also have the word of diversity. So this leads us to understand how the state offers out these sort of, or allocates these jobs to people based on certain psychological evaluation and suitability, and the accountability is then ingrained into the policy of the either department or the institution itself, whether it be the army or it be the secret service or it be the police service. So the accountability, this is what we're talking about. Within the secret service, their accountability is if something goes wrong, like in the case of Donald Trump, there's going to be an investigation. The assassin was terminated on the spot instantly, only after being sort of out there for quite a long time, scoping out the situation, scoping out the scene, using a ladder, and then firing a number of shots off, injuring the ex-president, former president, and killing a number of people in the crowd. I know one person was definitely killed, and then I think there's another couple that were definitely injured. This was a large crowd of people, so letting off shots in any direction, unless it was up in the air or down on the ground, would have caused some injury to somebody with a number of people about. So there was no doubt that this person was there to cause harm in the evaluation of what the media has told me. And I'm not an expert at the law, I'm not an expert on investigation, I'm not even an expert on the Secret Service or any form of security forces. I just have my limited information and what the media has told me, and I'm just up here connecting the dots with the self-defense and what goes on in operations, so people understand that we're all accountable to some level, whether to our superiors or to a higher power, the Almighty, who goes, it depends on your moral beliefs. With the army, again, they are accountable to their superiors and to a higher court and to treaties and to the war was over, and soldiers had to account for their actions during the hostilities. Both sides would make claims against each other of atrocities, some against civilians, some against captured prisoners. This is convention was outlawed. These are set rules that are outlawed by the Geneva Convention, if you understand what that is. This is to do with human rights. So even during hostilities, people have a right to be treated fairly. So if a group of soldiers come out, it is not right then for those soldiers who have got their guns trained on these soldiers who are coming out with their arms up, relinquished all their weapons, and then these soldiers then take it upon themselves to what they called submit justice on them, summary justice. This is justice without any trial. This is justice without any real sort of evidence to back that they should all be instantly executed. I know in the army they do during times of war do have firing squads for deserters, and this is a practice that is used in the army, and soldiers know about this, and this is something they sign up for, and it's not often spoken about to the civilians. And this is, the horrors of war. So let's fast forward to 2024. Soldiers are in different theaters of action in Ukraine, in the Middle East, in Africa, all over the world. South America, we have different militias, different armed conflicts that go on, and these are subject to the same rigorous Geneva Convention that we have to sort of read about, when things come out. That's if they do come out. They don't always come out. So yeah, we're now talking about the police now. There's a situation that's happened where a lady phoned the police up. This is in America. She phoned the police up. There is history, or there is known evidence that this woman had some mental health issues. The officers who arrived on the scene did their routine search of the area because it was a prowler alert, that the person who had rung up from that address had made a complaint that there was somebody outside, or maybe a prowler, an intruder. This was a female inside of the house. This is justified for most females. If they live on their own, if they hear a noise, the police are called. The police will respond as quickly as possible because it's their job, it's their duty to do that. These officers then took it upon themselves to enter the building of where the woman was. I've seen some of the camera footage of it, and I'm going to give you my little bit of knowledge of what the footage I've seen. They asked the lady why it took her so long to answer the door, and I think the tone of the officer, this kind of struck me, because I've been in confrontations and conversations with people in authority, people who are police officers, people who have authority over me during a situation. And when they use a certain tone, this as a man will alert you to how this interaction may go or may not go. This doesn't always have to be right. But what I picked up on the tonality of the officer was that he was questioning the lady to why she took so long. This seemed quite like a suspicious question, but let's overlook that. He has got his every right to question and to ascertain the sort of reason he's being called out there. Especially, we're all human beings. We want to know what's going on. We want to know what the reason for this this call is. And I'm not going to try and overcomplicate it, because that does not mean that this person has an intention from the onset, but it could sort of show some indications of what they class as the mindset of this person. This is how interactions with the public and the police are perceived. The mindset of the person who is in charge. He's carrying a gun, he's in authority, he's got authority to even use lethal force. So lethal force is death. This is somebody being able to have the ability and the knowledge and even sometimes the experience to eliminate you. We all know of the history of the police. This can lead to suspicion on certain unbalances within this sort of interaction. Somebody with a gun who doesn't like you enters your house. This gives you a disadvantage. You know that they got her in a gun. That gives you some advantage, because then you should be watching your P's and Q's and should be monitoring your behavior. This person's entered your house with authority. Let's give it that way. Let's put it that way. You've phoned for that person. So this person should not really be seeing you as a threat. But, let's go into the whole what's happened here. The lady, as I said, has got a sort of history of mental health. This was ascertained by the officers. We heard the officers then speaking to the woman. What then transpires is then subject to a sort of hearing, a sort of, they need to sort of investigate fully, and this will happen, and is being done at this moment in time. My views on it are very sort of sketchy, because I'm not going to give you a sort of a verdict of what I think is going to happen, because I don't know what's going to happen in this case. But do I think what the officers did was justified? I don't really think that at all, because it was a woman. Two, you've got armed, you've got a gun on you. That gives you an advantage 99.99999 times out of every out of 100 situations. There's going to be very few situations that you're not going to be an advantage, even if the other person has a gun, a knife. Maybe if there's more of them and there's only you with your one gun, maybe you're at a disadvantage, but your training should alert you to the situation, and hopefully you don't get hurt. So I understand the position of the trained officer. The trained officer does not want to get hurt, but the likelihood of them getting hurt in a situation, or more situations, is negligible. Against a woman, against and with the distance that person is away from you, and what is then perceived as the weapon. And this is the things that are being debated by, I would say, intelligent people who have then listened to what their point of view is. We have to take away the emotion from what we feel and what we've seen. We have to take away that side of it. I'm sorry if it comes across as that I'm not coming across as caring for this woman who's lost her life. Of course, you've got to care for people who lose their life in any situation, and I'm not going to put a but on that. Thus far, the evidence shows that there was bad strategic planning done by the officers. The premise that an officer can open fire in that manner in such a short space of time is definitely questionable in any sort of level of understanding of me as a man, and as me of seeing that situation. Would I want that officer to continue in the police force? Definitely not. No, I don't think that job's for him, whether or not he's found not guilty. And I'm only saying that because I'm being honest with you. If we have people like that who are allowed to make up their mind whether to execute somebody based on them having a hot water pot, whether that could have caused damage to them, I don't think they should shoot them in the face. And that's what the person's done. He's not taken a leg shot. It's not taken even to shoot the pot out of the person's hand. That person's a crack shot. To hit somebody in the face from any distance is a crack shooter, because you call mass, and we all police officers know what I'm talking about. When we talk about mass, your biggest mass is your body. It's not your head. It's it's just not what officers should do. If that person was armed with a gun, I can't sort of say that officer hasn't got a right to shoot that person. I definitely can't say that. I don't work for the police force. I don't work in that sort of mindset. I don't think that shooting somebody is ever necessary, even when you're angry. and we all say stupid things, especially when you're from urban areas. So I know people in urban areas, they talk crazy, they act crazy. Would we allow them in the police force? No, because they're not ready for that. They're ready for stupid Barneys and that. And if you have police officers who are on the force who are similar to that and thinking that same way, then you're going to have a massive problem in the years to come, because it's just not right to open fire without. I mean, you warned that person, you even told the person you was going to effing shoot them in the face, or, you as an officer or person saying that, then you've already got an intention on in your head. That is the mindset that they're going to be talking about, and the strategies that was taken, and the fact that this officer knew there was protocols to dealing with people with mental health problems. So it's sad. It's a sad indictment of how the world is becoming. It's not the end of the world. We have great things also happening. We have the Olympics, and I'm going to talk about that in its general term because it's got its controversy this year. Some things that are happening again to do with self-defense, to do with the sport, the art of boxing, where we're having males transgenders who are being allowed to compete against women. I don't make the rules up. I don't sort of enact on everything I hear. But a woman versus man is never a level playing field in sport. Neither in football. We don't even see it in snooker, even nor in tennis or in badminton or running, non-contact sports. We don't even see it in that. So when it's a contact sport, I'm going to put it as basic in the time I've got to speak about this, because I'm not going to go on about it all day. Whether this person has the chromosomes of a man, or the male chromosomes, XY, this is a man. Whatever's gone on, I don't know. I don't really know what else to sort of go by when we talk about males and females. And this is an argument that can be proven scientifically, and it can be proven just physically by, the physical strength of a man different from the physical strength of a woman. We all agree about equality and that there's inequality in the world, and there needs to be a redress and a rebalance of this. This needs to be changed in some way. But I think we're going too far. Simple as that. We're going too far to what we now know. It's not the unknown. It's definitely known. And what is going to inevitably happen is that somebody is going to be very badly hurt, because eventually the playing fields are going to have to be leveled out somewhere. Women are going to have to find a way to level out the playing fields to compete against men entering the same competitions as them. If it's in boxing, if it's in contact sports, what could women possibly do to then compete against a male, somebody who's changed their gender but is effectively still a male? The muscle mass that person has is still going to be there. The skeletal frame is still going to be there. The nervous system is going to be developed in a male sort of way. We're going to say there's no difference between a female and a male, and I would definitely differ on that. Let's look at labor pain. So women, you all tell us men how difficult labor pain is, and I'm going to hold my hand up and agree with you. I've never had a child. I could only go off of what I've experienced. I've never had a child, and I'm not going to always be tongue-in-cheek, but I'm not always going to be serious about everything. I'm just going to be a matter of fact. Men and women are different. We're born different, and there's gonna be people who are gonna come on the internet and argue that no, whatever men can do, women can do. And I listen to it and I just close my eyes. I don't even bother answering you, because yes, that is the perception. So this is not getting at women. This is pointing out facts. Anatomically, men and women are built different. If a man and a woman then compete in boxing, we saw this, and I'm just seeing the video, and I didn't really pay much mind to it until I just seen the full sort of close-up of it. And the girl who was hit, she was hit once, and within 45 seconds she'd had enough. When you are hit by somebody who's heavier than you, you're gonna feel you're gonna feel it different. It's even gonna move you further than if it was somebody who was your similar weight or even lighter than you. That person may not even move you. Your head might go back to the side, or you might even like think, "Oh, what was that? Was that a gnat?" And I'm only being, this is like a lightweight against a heavyweight. That is just not right. That's what I talked about in the first series about fairness. Fairness is based upon this, and this is not for me to prove that I'm right. It's just to show you what I'm talking about. When we talk about fairness, it has to be thought out. It has to be, looked at of the experience. What would happen in that situation? Somebody bigger than somebody fighting against somebody who's a little gnat. That person who's bigger is basically going to squash that person. And we all know that this would happen. And there are exceptions to the rule. If this person is the same weight as the person, but the person is taller, but they're the same weight, that person, there's less of an advantage. There is an advantage because they've got a reach advantage over that shorter person. So we look at that. But that person hopefully has found a strategy of how to get around this. When we talk about strength, there's not many strategies you can use to get round compensating that you're weaker than this person is tougher than you. It's harder for you to break them down. For every one punch that person gives you, you have to give them probably 30 punches. That's crazy. That's but we want equality throughout the world. But I think in sport, we've got to really readdress this. And I hope that the authorities, the Olympic Committee, sports committees really, really look at this and don't pander to the political backdrop that we've got going on, liberalism and all this. This is not what is real. This is something that's manufactured to make the world seem as though we live in a utopia, or to bring it to that, which it will never be a utopia. You will never be able to please everybody. So when we talk about utopia, that leads us to other things, talking about some of the situations that's happening in the UK. I'm going to talk about them because I basically can. And I know there's going to be some far right-wing people out there who may even want to target me, and that's up to them if they feel that it's necessary for them to do that. But I'm not going anywhere. I'm not hiding from people like you. I don't care if you try and outnumber me. I'll give you my best shot. So let's give you the shot from now. We'll fire one across the bow now. You right-wing people definitely believe that it's going to go back to the time when you can, terrorize groups of people for not agreeing with your beliefs. And I think that some of them do walk around thinking like this. Some are just protesting something that they believe, and that's up to you. You have your own opinions, your political persuasion, and if it's based on race, then take a flying leap off a pier for all I care. If you don't like somebody just based on their race, if it's based on the media, what you've read, then again, I'd say you're very misinformed. The media is not always correct, but you have your legitimate gripe there. The media is feeding you full of what they class as sensationalism, and some of it may be true because they are privy to information. But if this information is done in such a way, it will cause the right wing people to jump up. They've been in the pubs for years. I've known about this. I've known that the racism has been simmering underground for a long time. I don't let it affect me because obviously my situation as a alpha male, if you might want to call me that, or as a man, I don't really fear another man or a group of men just because they're a group of them. I've been in situations where a lot of time groups of men, there's only one real tough one out of them, and even if there's a couple more tough ones out of them, they're not up for it. But let's not goad these morons. I don't want to goad people. Um, but whatever happens, happens, and I'm just telling you how I see the world. So this right-wing situation, some of it is based on some of the things that are going on in the country. We have immigration that is seemingly a problem to the residents of the UK. I don't understand why, when we are what they class as a mongrel nation, a nation of many different nationalities. The Italians were the first, when we talk about immigration, they came over here, and a lot of Italians are still in the general population. The Celts, they were Danes, they were Saxons, they never came from this country. The original Picts, so you call the Picts, who were they? Do you really know who they are? And a lot of you really don't. And I'm not even going to school you on that because you're going to go and look for your information, and I can give you other information to show you who these people are and where they came from. The Gaelic people, they are all in this country. So we have a mixture of Anglo-Saxon. And where did the Angles come from? They're the French. So this is the history of the British Isles. It's made up of Saxons, French, Italian, and then we could even class Moroccans who were here before. We had Ethiopians in the early times. The place Cheddar Gorge. A lot of you might know about this. Just look that up. And the guy who they found, he didn't look like he looked more like me. So if this upsets you, then you are not really understanding what this argument is about. There is no real Briton. The British are an amalgamation of people. Can I prove this? Of course I can prove it. That is one of the reasons why I would class a person who has got racial issues as a moron, because I've educated myself on these facts so I didn't become a moron like some of these people, because it's easy to become a moronic person who believes that, yes, I'm angry, this is happening to me, I can't eat, my kids can't feed, and use this is nationalism. This is nothing to do with history. This is nothing to do with anything else apart from a political driven, motivated sort of issue. The right wing, we know that the majority of them follow a certain person who's got his own views. There's other people who are similar to him, and this is based on their political aspirations. They all want to become leaders someday. But if you're leading by violent acts and by instilling riots, then you should be locked up because you're not right in your head, mate. And the people who are following you are not right in their head because they're going to meet up on people who are going to resist what they're saying. And this then is going to be a major problem. So I'm just forewarning people that if this becomes part of the everyday world, then we're going to have a lot of clashes out there between people who are not going to take the shit from the far right. We don't care what you say about us, whatever, as long as you don't trouble some of us. Some the rest of them who are weak and that, you're going to bully those people, but there's some of us who cannot be bullied. We're never going to be bullied. We've been around the toughest of y'all, and we know that you ain't shit. You're never going to be shit, and I'm putting this out as the facts. We know they have tough people out there, but they are fair people. Tough people are usually fair people. People who are not fair, they're going to bully people. When you can't bully somebody, then what is going to be your next course of action? That's it. Virtually nothing. So you can't bully somebody like me. The people who I know, you can't bully them. I've got white friends, I've got Asian friends, I've got Chinese friends, and of course I've got black friends. And none of us aspire to the belief of race being one race being more superior to the other. We all sit down, we all have our debates, we can agree to disagree. Religion shouldn't come into a reason why you should dislike somebody. That should not be a reason. If that person's a good Christian and they are looking after you, why would then you hate any other Christians because you've met one that's good? I've met many Muslims who are very good. We obviously hear about the bad Muslims. Let's put it that way, they're going to be bad Muslims. Does that represent all of Muslims? You answer that. I don't think it does to me. Does it represent all bad Christians or the ones I read about? No, it doesn't. Does it equate to the bad Jewish people because of what we read about in the paper? No, it doesn't. And this should go up for everybody in the world. So this may or may not seem like a rant. This is the truth added on to the truth. The things that are happening are going to happen regardless. So I hope people who have got a steady head sort of look at the facts. Yes, if you have issues of safety, then of course that's your legitimate issue. If you have issues of your livelihood, these are legitimate issues, but please, people should sit down and debate these things. What will happen when people clash who have got no idea what the ideology or what they're clashing for? This is when you see major conflicts. You see this in war where soldiers are fighting each other and they don't actually know what the frig they are fighting for. Are they fighting to go home? Are they fighting to invade somebody's home? Are they fighting to save grace? Are they fighting to save ground? It's so stupid. And I myself, as I class myself as a warrior, I don't really see any other course of action for my life. If I have to fight for my cause or my beliefs, I am willing to do that. Am I willing to die over foolishness? Don't ever even ask me. That's stupid. Anybody who is willing to die over something that they say that they believe in, but other people are going to just look at you because they don't believe that way. They don't believe in things like that. The things that are worth living for are not worth dying for. And that is the honest truth. So all these trappings and that, they're not worth dying for them. It's not worth dying for saving face. It's not worth dying for some of the people that we think care for us and the things that they can do for us. Is it worth dying for those people? I'd have to question that myself. Is it worth dying for myself? That isn't even a logical question. These are not logical questions. When people go out, and this is why I brought up self-defense, because it's taken me years to work this out. I had friends who I would feel loyal to, and we would often have to justify what we were doing things for. And some of the times when I would do things for friends, when I look back, would I do this again for those friends? No, I wouldn't. But does that mean that they were bad friends? No, it doesn't. It just means I would make different decisions. So this is the riddles that I always bring into it. Should we follow people? Should we follow leaders who are leading us to something oblivion? I would not follow that leader. I would not follow a leader who makes me hate my neighbours. I would not follow that leader. I would not follow a leader who makes me look at somebody based on their colour, not based on could they help me. If a black doctor came into the room and you was dying, would you say, oh no, I don't want him, oh no, get him out, get him out? And if you did and that doctor walked out, it wouldn't be on that doctor's conscience. Maybe that doctor might not even listen to you. Think, oh, he's illusion, he's having illusions, and actually administer help to you, and that saved your life, and then you're forever thankful for that. I've read situations of people who are not thankful for being helped by black doctors. Black doctors have told me how people react to them when they're in the hospitals. Black nurses tell me how women and old men react to them when they're in the nursing homes. Does this mean that they should then act cruel to that person? No, their own conscience tells them that they shouldn't. Should they then leave this person to suffer? No, their own conscience. So these are things that I think we're all aware of. We have a conscience. Whether or not we choose to use it, that's up to us. And in the situation of the right wing people, maybe you got reasons why you want to join in with this group, or you feel that this is the right thing for you. And I'm not here to change your mind, but I understand that you're just wrong, mate. You're not right in the head, because you're on the losing side. The world's changing, and regardless of what your governments or your leaders are trying to fool you full of, the country needs it needs immigration. I'm sorry to say, it needs it. We need workers who can do jobs. If you want to continue the lifestyle that we're living, we have to work with other people. Britain's not going to sort of look after itself. The economy cannot survive on its own without these people, regardless what you think about Great Britain. And I know this is not what a lot of people want to hear, but the country is not the great British Empire. And let's look at when it was. It was relying on what? India, Africa, China, this very countries you're saying that are beneath you. Okay, now, like, can you all not really listen to yourselves? The same people who have helped to build this country up, you're saying that they are below you and they shouldn't have a right to come into your. This is why a lot of people don't like the English. And I'm going to be honest, a lot of people don't like the English. I haven't got a problem with the English in general, but the ignorant ones, now you motherfucking ignorant ones, you stay the fuck away from me. Just, don't even look in my direction. And if you've got any intention of me, don't make me see it on your face. Beg you do. Don't make me see it on your face and you coming towards me. You're an idiot. You're not an idiot.